That'll give us a head start as we start building together. Well, good afternoon. I see it's 1 o'clock. Again, my name is Christopher Allen, and we've scheduled this 90-minute webinar to go over a lot of the new features available in ZebraZapps Pro. There are more features than could possibly be covered in a 90-minute setting, so I've outlined a few here for today. We'll take a look at a number of things encompassing the new event flow feature. That includes creating and duplicating events, the ability to use master pages for layout. Also talk about navigating between different events and all the different interactions that you can now create in a single application. And we'll get into some of the fun stuff like creating cool transitions. And if we have a little time at the end, we'll talk about creating some progress bars and other reusable features that you might want throughout a typical course or application. I'm taking a look at an application that I built using ZebraZapps Professional, and after today's webinar, you're welcome to go ahead and take a look at this, this course. If I exit out of full screen mode, in the shops, you'll find at number 1, I'm calling it hot peppers. A number of the little interactions that I've created for today have to do with peppers, so that'll be fun. And the other thing that I've done, which is new, first time within our webinars, is I've created and shared some assets for everyone to use at their leisure as they're starting to build interactions along. And you'll find those assets in what we call our Gadget Shop. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about gadgets today too. And it's got a matching icon, and it's called Webinar Images. So, and I'll show you how to add those things into your projects. But just so that you know where everything is located in the shops, here's the images for today in the Gadget Shop. And in the App Shop, the presentation for today is the first one here, hot peppers. So I'll open my project back up here, and we'll expand this to be full screen. So here is a typical roughed out Zebra application. I've got 4 events, and I'm using multiple master pages to add elements of design and navigation. And we'll talk more about each of them as we go along. But just to give you the lay of the land, I have 4 events across the bottom, and clicking any one of these buttons allows me to navigate forward and back. Some of these events include interactivity, like this screen here where we've got a drag and drop sorting exercise, where over here on the left I've got a number of text objects that include names of peppers and 2 categories. They're either mild or hot. And so you can drag and drop peppers into each one of their categories. And you might notice over here on the left, as each one is correctly identified, we're adding a little bit here to my progress meter. You may recognize this interaction from another webinar that we did not too long ago on sorting and using text objects as as drag and drop items for users. Let's kind of move those along, and you'll be able to, of course, play with this application a little bit later. Event number 3, completely different, and it includes a video here on how to actually dry peppers in the oven.
From Shakespeare, so right now I'm going to show you how to dry hot.
And event number 4 has a fun little scale. So here's the heat rating scale for peppers, and it's measured from 0 to 2 million. And we've got 3 peppers here that you can move up along a scale. And kind of the idea here is that the user is supposed to get each pepper in its appropriate heat range. Habaneros are pretty hot. And of course, the bell pepper is, it could almost be a 0. And you see once you've got all your peppers in the right range, while our progress meter hit all the way up to the top. So this application includes a lot of the things that I'm going to be covering today, not covering so much of the interactivity. We've covered those in other webinars, but I'm certainly happy to go over each one of those steps with you at a later time. But what I do want to talk about is how easy the professional version of ZebraZapps makes creating these types of courses with the navigation and the reusable progress bar and the backgrounds and all the things that make a project look great. So the first challenge for us all today is to make sure that we do have a professional account if you'd like to build along and use all the features today. So take a moment, again, to sign in to ZebraZapps.com to your account. And you'll notice over here in the right-hand corner of the site, it says ZebraZapps. And then underneath it, it lets you know what subscription level you're currently selected at. And of course, here I've got a professional account. If you go to the tab here that says Account, and down here under Manage Account, there's a page called Account Settings. And here's where you can change what account type you currently have. So if you have a collector or a creator, you're welcome to upgrade and downgrade as you like. I do know that most of the people that we did invite to today's webinar do have a professional account. But if you need help or are still wondering how you can change your account level, please feel free to use the GoToMeeting chat window. We've got several fellows here ready to help and answer any questions that you might have about your account and upgrading and downgrading, all that sort of good stuff. So I'll pause there for a second, make sure that you get a chance to sign in to ZebraZapps, and just double check to make sure that you've got a professional account if you're going to be building along. And if you don't want to do that right away, that's fine. You certainly can follow along, at least just visually, as we start building and using some of the new features. Okay, I am going to navigate back here to the My Stuff tab. Of course, this gives me access to all of my projects. And I'm going to open up the Hot Peppers project inside Zebra and show you how it was built. And then we'll open up a dual project and start building some of this stuff from scratch. Clicking the Edit button here on my project list view is going to open up this project. Even though it's published, I can make changes and, of course, republish it if I like. Okay, now that my project is open and I have access here to the ZebraZapps editor, make the screen just a little bit bigger, we're looking at the very first event. Of course, this is our screen where I've kind of laid out a roadmap for today. If you go up into the upper left-hand corner, if you've been using ZebraZapps for a while, here's a new icon, and this is our event flow view icon. Clicking it, of course, gives you now access to all the different events and master pages in your project. So I'm just going to give you a quick tour of of this project as it was built. I am using 5 different master pages. They're over here on the left, and when you take a look at your scroll bar, you'll know that they're master pages because they've got a couple of key indicators. One of them is, down here on the slider, master pages are labeled with letters, starting with A. So I've got A, B, C, D, E. And then at the top of each one of these white rectangles, which of course represents the stage view, you'll notice that it's also labeled, and it lets you know whether it's a foreground or background master. Master pages can be applied in front of or behind your interactive material, but we'll get to that later. In addition, this project also has 4 events. On the first event here, I've got my bullets. Event number 2, this was the sorting interaction, so the list of all the pepper names and the 2 columns to put those in between. Event number 3, here was our video on how to dry hot peppers in the oven so that you can use them as ingredients. And our last page here was the heat rating scale and the dragging of the individual peppers along the line to match up where they lie in hotness, from a bell pepper all the way up to, well, police grade pepper spray would be somewhere around the 2 million mark. So the professional version of ZebraZapps gives you a lot of flexibility, and for those of you who have been using Creator and this is really your first look at professional, instead of just one stage, ZebraZapps Professional gives you the opportunity to have up to 99 events. And events can be as big or as small as you'd like. They could, like I've shown here, they could be just as simple as some basic content on the screen, just a little bit of text, maybe some graphics, an introduction to your course. An event could be a single interaction here where we've got this drag and drop interaction set up. It could be a video. It could be something a little more in-depth, but it could also be almost a full application, just as you're accustomed to building in the Creator version of ZebraZapps. So it's really up to you. There's no right or wrong answer about how deep a single event should be, but here's just kind of a roadmap of how you might find creating content. I think this is pretty comfortable, thinking about a single event as a single interaction or a single run-through or practice of a problem set. And so let's get started with opening up a brand new project, and we'll start to build some of these cool features like putting together backgrounds, developing a navigation for your course, a little bit of layout, as well as a progress bar if we get a chance within our 90 minutes here. So I'll go ahead and just minimize this project. We might want to refer to it later. And back under the My Stuff tab here, back out kind of on our website, I'm going to click the Create New Project button, green one over here, and this is going to open up a new blank editor. Some things might have changed on the screen for you if you're, of course, used to using the Creator version. Here at the top, we've got a place now to, of course, enter the name of your project. You can choose what type of project it is. Creator version won't have event flow and the use of all the different events, but Professional does, and now as a professional account holder, that's going to be the default type that you choose. Next, of course, is the stage size setting. You can make this as big, as tall, as wide as you'd like, and this is in pixels. So the default size is 800 by 500, but you certainly can click right in here and choose what other height and width you'd like. A few settings here for what happens the second time a user comes and opens your application, especially if they've run through it before. Does it completely restart? Does it allow them to resume? Then over here on the right, an exciting new feature that I'm sure that you'll explore right away. These are navigation templates. So we've taken the time and built right inside Zebra templates that include background images, things like forward and back navigation, and put in some ideas for how you might style, including where a logo could go. And all this stuff is replaceable and editable, and there are actually instructions on how to use some of these templates right in them. And of course, you can choose any one of these templates from the panel over here. It defaults to a blank project. But if you scroll up and down and see a style that you like, you certainly can click it. It's going to let you know that this is the navigation template that you're going to choose. And when you hit Create Project, all of that interactivity, assets, and all that sort of stuff gets dropped right inside your project. And you're able to start creating content right away. For today's webinar, I'm going to go ahead and choose a blank project and say Create Project. Oh, I do need to give it a name. So we'll label it here today's date. And say Create Project. Okay, so a blank project starts with a single event and a single master page. And you're in Event Flow View. So this is kind of the big picture of your entire project. And to start editing either one of these, you simply double-click right here in the space to open up the first event. And there's a second way to do that, so I'll show you both ways. To get back to Event Flow View, you click on the icon here in the upper left-hand corner. And other than double-clicking right in the middle of the white box for the stage, you can click on the pencil icon, and that will edit this event. So two ways to get in. You can either double-click, or you can hit the pencil button here at the top to edit the event. So just so that we have a little bit of content on the screen, let's go ahead and create a really simple rollover just for practice. If it's been a little while since you've used the tool and want to get back into creating objects and wiring, here's a quick little refresher. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the oval, and we're going to pretend that this is a hot pepper, and I'll just draw an oval right here on the screen. So of course, selecting the oval tool from the toolbox and dragging an oval of whatever shape you'd like that might represent a pepper here. And I suppose we need to give our pepper a name for our rollover. So I'm going to grab a text tool object here from the toolbar, and we'll just drag to create a text object right next to our fake pepper here, and we'll say banana pepper. And we can reposition it. Okay, so what we want to have happen for our really simple rollover is that when my cursor is over this object here, I want to see the text here at the top that says banana pepper, and when my mouse is not over the oval, I want this to be invisible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my oval and get its message center to appear. So just go ahead and select the oval. It'll say oval right on the message center by default. And what we want to have happen, of course, is pointer over, show the text, pointer out, hide the text. And those are outs, things that a user could do to this object. So I'm going to go ahead and select the out button on the message center, and this, of course, opens up all the different behaviors that the user might do, including point and click. So I'll select the point and click category, and here at the bottom I will find pointer over and pointer out. So to create that relationship where this text is visible when my pointer is over, I'm going to click and drag right from the edge here, right where it says pointer over, to create a wire. And with my mouse button down, of course holding it down the whole time, I'm going to bring that wire all the way up to the top, right over the text. And its message center now appears. And if I take that wire right over in and display, now I get a whole bunch of options for displaying this text object, and I'm going to attach that right to show. So the relationship that I've created is when my pointer is over the oval, I'm going to go ahead and show the text. So you can guess the next step, of course, which is we want to make sure that that text becomes invisible. And just like we did before, we'll go pointer out this time from the oval and attach that to hide on our text object, like so. And I can even rearrange my message centers here just a little bit so that you can see that relationship a little bit better. Pointer over and pointer out on the oval, show and hide on the text object. And of course, the last thing that we want to do before we start running our applications, we want to make sure that our text object is set to hide on run when we start. And that's a visibility property. You can also find properties, of course, in message centers. So for the text object, we're looking for the property under the visibility category of hide on run. And of course, it's defaulted here to be false. But we want to turn that true. And of course, what that means is as soon as we start running our application, this text object will be invisible. So only when our pointer is over the oval will the text object appear, and it will disappear again once our pointer goes outside the bounds of the oval. So just like in Creator, let's go ahead and hit the Run button at the top. So go up to the top set of icons here. You can see, of course, that we're in edit mode, and now we want to go into Run Restart. So I'm going to go ahead and click the button at the top that looks like a play button. You noticed all of our message centers disappeared, the toolbox disappeared, the inspector disappeared, and of course the text object disappeared because we are now running. So the moment that my pointer is over the oval, we're going to get the text that says banana pepper, and when I roll off, that disappears. Cool. I'll give you a second to make sure that you've got that wired up. And of course, if you have any questions, be sure to ask them through the questions pane on GoToMeeting. Got quite a few people here who can support and answer any questions that you might have. Anything groundbreaking? Nope. Okay, I hope that was enough time for you to get that relationship wired up. We'll go back to edit reset mode. And let's just take a look around here just a little bit. Some things have changed since the last time you likely used ZebraZapps, especially if you've been upgraded to a professional account. Along the sides of your stage, of course the stage is the white area here in the center. Along both sides, on the left and the right, we've now got pegboards, or places for you to wire to. And as we start talking a lot about the new features in Pro, we'll be using these to create interactivity both for navigation as well as carrying over information from event to event. At the top, you'll find a new bar, which is really, really quite exciting. It has navigation for the author to switch between different events, create new events, start running if you're in the middle of your event stack, as well as apply master pages. Let's go out to Event Flow View and let's put some content inside of our first master page so that we can see how applying master pages works to individual events. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Event Flow View button so that I get that two-stage view back on my screen. And now I'm able to see Master A, which is blank. Of course, it's got this X through it. Lets me know that I've yet to edit or enter into it. And event number 1, which has our oval and rollover. And you can think of, in Event Flow View, you're looking at thumbnails. So you're looking at a snapshot of what is in either the event or the master page, which is in front of you. And it really does make it very convenient to start flipping through all of your content, all your interactivity, feedback, and all that sort of stuff to see what's up next. So let's get to creating a little bit of something in a master page and apply it to our first event. I'm going to go ahead and double-click on Master A. And again, greeted with a stage, so pretty familiar view. And let's just go ahead and we'll create our first little bit of background. with a rectangle across the bottom and the name of our course. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool here from the toolbox, and then just somewhere around the bottom down here, I'm going to click and drag to create a blue band all the way across the bottom. So this is a feature, a reference point that I want to essentially have throughout my entire course. So I got the blue band up there, and I might put, of course, the name of my course on here. So I'm going to grab the text object again and click and drag right over here, and I'll just title this My First App. Of course, you can click that text object, and if you'd like to change its font size or font name, you can use something a little fancier, maybe even change its color, all the sorts of stuff that you did before. I'll give you a second to do that, and that's about as far as we're going to go in this master page before we start looking at how to use them. Okay, I trust that you've got those two objects in your master page. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Event Flow View button icon again here, of course, up at the top. So I see my two stage views at the same time. And you'll notice something pretty interesting has happened. What you had in Event A, or Master Page A, excuse me, in Master Page A is now represented in Event number 1. So think of master pages as a really quick and easy way to create reusable objects that you're going to want to have in lots of different events. It could be interactivity, it could be styling, background, all that sorts of stuff. But you just want to create it once and then be able to either leverage its interactivity or leverage the look and feel throughout your course. So you can create your own themes or skins, if you will. It was automatically applied to our first event. And it's just kind of the way a new project starts. But if you don't want a master page applied to an event, you use these icons here at the top, right above event number 1. They're available both in Event Flow View as well as Edit View. When I hover over the icon here, the big square, the big black square, it gives me the name of the master page. And it says here in its tooltip, click to show or hide. So right now, this master page A, is applied to my very first event. If I want to unapply it, I go right up here to the top and click once. And that strip here across that rectangle and my text object now no longer appears inside the event. If I want it back, all I have to do is go back and roll over it. Roll over it, I get a preview of what this master page would look like applied to the thumbnail of event number 1. I roll off, the preview disappears. If I want to reapply it, all I have to do is click once. So that's really pretty cool. Now, let's go ahead and double-click event number 1. We'll go back into edit mode for event number 1 and just kind of look at what changes that's made now to our event. So when I double-click and enter back in, here I've still got my rollover and that interactivity wired up. But as I drag over the stuff, and if I was to try to select with a marquee selection the stuff that was in Master Page A, you notice that it doesn't respond. So if you've got things that you want locked down and you're really only, as an author, focusing on the interactivity that you've got in this current event, master pages make it really, really easy for you to kind of set and forget the really important stuff like navigation and the title of your course, all that sort of stuff. Cool. So we've got our first event and we've got our first master page. I'm going to, just for a second here, pull up my sample course. or it's the one on hot peppers, and just kind of reacclimate you to how this project was set up. So I've got 4 main events, and they are a combination of both, just bullet points on the screen as well as interactivity. And they've got some features that are shared across, and those things, of course, are inside my master pages. So as I use the scroll bar here down at the bottom, you can see all the different master pages that I have. So the first one here, master page E, this is my progress bar. And you can find, of course, where that progress bar is used. It's used in event number 2 over here on the left. And if I keep going, it's also used in event number 4. So master page E shows up in 4, and it shows up in number 2. I can apply it or deselect it just as we did before with that the title bar across the bottom by using the selector here at the top of the event. So if I was to get rid of the progress bar, here you can see now I have a blank square at the top. That's no longer used inside this event. And if I go ahead and select that one more time, now I've got the progress bar back. There are a couple of other empty ones in here, and if I roll over it, you can see that's the white square that I've got for a little bit of layout on my very first event. And the second one here, this is a picture. It's actually, those are green beans. Those aren't peppers. But part of the course here is to make sure that you know the difference before you bite into one. So of course we can slide all the way back and forth, and so we've got 5 different master pages. We got 2 background types, one with these kind of green swooshes, one with the green peppers, green beans that don't belong. I've got course navigation down here at the bottom, a little bit of reference for layout, and our progress bar. So the next thing that I really do want to tackle is I want to create a few more events and build out our navigation so that we can navigate directly to event number 1, event number 2, event number 3, or event number 4, no matter where we are inside the application. And you can see that I've applied that master page to all 4 events. So at any point in time, I can jump between 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we'll go back to our project. We'll go back to Event Flow View. Take a look at our project here and see, okay, what's needed. We're going to need something for navigation. We want to use those in all of our events, and we need a couple events to navigate to. So let's start with adding events. Here at the top, right where it says this is our title bar for the event, on either end we've got plus buttons. And if you click the plus button on the left side of an event, it will add a new event to the left. If you click the one on the right, it'll add one to the right. So if you think of this as a stack. So I'll go ahead and I'll add an event before. So I've got a blank event. It's now become event number 1. The first thing that we created became event number 2. If I click the button over here on the right, it creates a new blank event to the right of event number 2. And of course we can delete events. Super easy. The button right next to the plus button is the minus button. This deletes event number 3. Now I'm left with 2 events. So just take a second to play with those and see how they work. And then I'll show you how you can reorder events after you've created them. So I'm going to have a blank event before event number 2 and a blank event right after.
Hey Chris, do you want to show them the control bar and what it means when it's together and then when it's separate? And you
We've gotten a great question about the scroll bar at the bottom for navigating between the events and Event Flow View. it's a really neat and novel little scroll bar that we have here at the bottom. It allows you to see any two events that are right next to each other, or any two events regardless of where they are in your stack. So the slider across the top is only visible, of course, when you're looking at two events that are right next to each other. So in this case, I'm looking at event number 2 and event number 3. So I have this scroll bar at the top letting me know that those two events are right next to each other. If I were to grab below here our scroll bar, right above where it says number 2 or number 3, and just drag one of them away. So we'll start here by moving this one. I'll click and drag with my mouse and start pulling this to the left. And now I'm looking at event number 1 and event number 3. And if I go one more over, now I'm looking at the master page and event number 3. Conversely, I can grab the below the scroll bar here and grab this selector. Now I'm seeing event number 2 on the right-hand stack. Now I'm seeing event number 1, and of course the scroll bar at the top is now returned because I'm looking at two things that are right next to each other. So grabbing across the top when the two are together, this is two items that are right next to each other. It doesn't matter whether it's a master page or an event. Master page A, event number 1. Slide this over, event number 1 and event number 2. Slide it over one more time, event number 2 and event number 3. And then these two at the bottom really refer to what's visible on the left-hand part of my stack and what's visible on the right-hand part of my stack, allowing you to see two at the same time. Okay, well, you should have successfully been able to create blank master pages, or excuse me, blank events. And so we have a blank event number 3, but it does have, by default, master page A applied. And I also created one before our event with the rollover, and it also has the master page applied. If I'd like to unapply the master page, again, it's this icon here at the top in the toolbar, the title bar. And we can go ahead and select that to remove the title of our application if we'd like. And of course, reapply it. So I want to show you one other cool thing, and you may have already discovered this, especially if you are familiar with using arenas. We have the ability to duplicate an event. So all the objects that you've created inside an event, all the interactivity, assets and all that sort of stuff, you can create an exact copy. So if you've got, say, several interactions that are very similar, it's just slight tweaks to the content, maybe different questions. Once you've set up one question, you can make a whole series of them. So create your own little quiz. So since we don't have much content to work with yet, I'm going to duplicate event number 2. And I can either duplicate event number 2 before it or behind it, just like we did with the blank ones. And the only change, the only extra thing that I need to do, just like with arenas, when you add a new page and you want to duplicate everything across, is hold down the Alt key. And in fact, the tooltip for adding or deleting a page, when you hold down the Alt key and click, well, it adds another event just like the one before. So here I've got two events, both with rollovers, and they're absolutely identical. And if I'd like to delete that one, you go ahead here and again click the delete button. Okay, let's get on with creating some buttons and now some navigation. I'm going to go ahead and double click master page A. Open up my toolbox here by clicking the pointer over on the left-hand side of the editor to get the toolbox to reappear. And from my toolbox, I'm going to choose the push button tool. Get that selected, and I know it's selected because there's the green outline right around it. And down here across my bar letting me know what the name of this application is, I'm going to create just a couple of buttons. Well, maybe 3. I know that I at least have 3 events. So I'm going to click and drag to create a button. And maybe just for the time being, I'll put that button here up kind of in the middle. And I'll hold down the Alt key, click and drag to create a couple more. Cool. Okay, with my buttons selected, of course we have its message center here, and we need to think a little bit about how this is going to work. When I press this button, of course it's in a master page, and of course I can have these buttons available throughout my entire application. When I press this button in particular, I might want to navigate to event number 1. So I'll go ahead and right in the middle of Untitled, right here in the button, I'm just going to double click and I'm going to label it so I know what this button is supposed to do. So I'll call this one Event 1. And since I hadn't labeled my button before, it automatically goes and makes that change right here in the Message Center's title. It calls this Event Number 1. Of course, and if it didn't, you can double-click right inside the Message Center to label it as well. Really handy, and I think you'll find yourself labeling far more Message Centers in the professional version than in Creator. It makes it really simple to find things if you take the extra step and go ahead and label your Message Center. Cool. So when I press this button, the Event Number 1 button, I want to make sure that I navigate to Event Number 1. There's a bunch of ways that I can do it, but let's start with taking a look at the Project Message Center at the very top of your editor. It's this guy way up here. And if you click on it, it opens, and you can see that it looks like just about every other Message Center. It's got ins and properties and outs, and these all refer to the project itself. So if I click on the ins in the Project Message Center way here at the top, I get a category called Do. And in the category of Do, all of this is now populated with very cool stuff just to help you navigate between events inside Event Flow View. A couple ribbons, and I'll talk about each of them as we go here. At the very top, this Go event will go to a very specific event, whatever you've named it, and it travels with it, so if you rearrange your events, it remembers no matter where it is in the stack. Then just below Restart this app and Quit this app, there's Go First Event, Go Next Event, Go Previous Event, Last Event, Go Forward, Go Back. All these guys have to do with navigating between Event Flow View. So we could easily wire up a couple buttons that just let you, use either the arrow keys on your keyboard, maybe a little arrow button over here that says Go Forward and an arrow button here that says Go Back, and so that you can navigate in between all the different events in sequential order. But if you want to go to one in specific, you use this very first Do ribbon here at the top in the Project Message Center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of these. One is I'm going to click on Event Number 1, the button way down here, and from button pressed, click and drag to create a wire, and my mouse button's still down, so I've got this out wire way down here at the bottom, and I'm going to bring that wire right over the top of the Project Message Center. Opens it up just like any other object, and I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to bring it all the way down to under Do, Go Event, and let go. You notice it's created 2 wires, and one of them is going through the Message Center, and I'll explain that a little bit. So when I click Event Number 1, we really want to talk to both the project as well as maybe another event itself. So Zebra has automatically created a wire to the edge here of my master page. And it says when we press this button, we actually want to talk to something, not an object on the stage, but we want to either talk to the project as a whole, or to another specific event. It then went from, and here I can grab my little hand tool and drive down, all of these wires that you create that go into the edge of your project, edge of the stage right here into this pegboard, go down into the message center for the event. And it created a custom ribbon for me. This says event number 1 button. And even when I roll over it, it gives me a little more information. It says when the event 1 button is pressed, something's going to happen. If I click on the message center here for the event, we can see that that wire goes all the way up to the top. So when this button is pressed, it magically goes all the way up here to the project message center and says we're going to navigate to event number 1. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying when we wire to the edge, we want to talk to something not inside this master page or this event. We want to talk to something else, and that something else in this case is the project message center. And it does some pretty cool automatic wiring for us. I'm going to create one more button here. We'll call this our event 2 button. And we're going to follow the exact same process. We're going to click and drag to create a wire from button pressed. We'll drag that all the way up to the top to the project message center under ins and do. Make sure that that opens up. And you can see I get another blank Go Event ribbon right here at the top. So there's the first one. We just wired to it. And we know it's wired because the port here at the edge is highlighted and it's a little bit bigger. The one right above it, that's our blank one. We'll go ahead and let go of our wire way up here at the top. And from the project message center under Go Event, this is the name of the event that we're going to go to. So I'm going to click to open up its drop-down menu. It's got the names of all 3 of my events. This is the event 2 button, so we're going to go to event number 2. Of course, as soon as I do that, I get another blank one, so you can kind of see the roadmap here for how this wiring is going to work. Give you 1 second to do that, or 2, 3 or 4. Why don't you use the hands up button here on the Go To meeting just to let me know that you guys have been able to complete those steps. If you have any questions about what I've just done, please be sure to ask them through the question pane, and I'll get those questions answered before we move on.
So you just want to show the project message center how to open it?
Sure. So we've got a couple requests to show how you get access to the project message center again. So it's this guy way up here at the top, and all you have to do is click on it to get it to view if you'd like, or if you're trying to wire to it, create some sort of connection. All you have to do is select one of the objects that you want to wire to the project message center at the top, like this one here. I'll do this step one more time. We'll make this button go to event number 3. And I'm going to wire from button pressed, so the user action of clicking on this button, we want to navigate to another event. So I'm going to bring my wire all the way up to the top of the editor and just let it hang out here for a second over the project message center. That gets it to appear. And if it isn't quite appearing for you, just wiggle your mouse a little bit and it'll behave and pop up and let you wire now to it. And we're taking these wires, the user action of pressing a button up to the project message center at the top, and we're looking under the category, the button of in. If you let your wire hang out about a little bit, it'll open up the ins. And under do, and if your do category isn't fully exposed, just let your wire kind of linger there for a minute, and the do category will open up. And we're connecting it to Go Event and letting go. So we should now have, well, in this case, I have 3, 1 for each button. So that's an important step to know. We've got a ribbon connected to button pressed on event number 1. That's this one here down at the bottom. That guy goes to event number 1. The second button, it's wired to the second ribbon. That's going to go to event number 2. And the one that I just created, one more time, goes from button pressed on number 3 all the way through the project's message center automatically. Zebra does that automatically for you, right up here to the new ribbon, and we need to say that needs to go to event number 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of rearrangement now that I've got those connections all wired up. I'm going to go ahead and select all 3 of those buttons, do a marquee selection just right across the page here inside Master Page A, and I'm going to bring those down and let them just kind of hang out here in the bar that I've created across the bottom. So now I've got a place for the title of my application and the 3 main navigation buttons. Okay, with that step complete, I'm going to go ahead and hit the Event Flow View button here at the top, back into Flow View. I don't need to show my toolbox here at the moment, so I'll just X that out. And I want to make sure that I've got my master page here applied to all 3 events. And I unapplied that one, so I want to bring Master Page A back and apply it to event number 1. And of course, we do that by going up to the title bar here at the top. And I'll just go ahead and click on this very first button. So just kind of to recap here in my project, I've got a blank event number 3, but it still does have that master page applied. I've got my rollover in event number 2, and I've got a blank event number 1. Not a big deal if that's not the way that yours lays out, but just take a mental note of what is in each event. If you did a copy plus in any one of the events, you might have more than one rollover. So let's go ahead and run this application and see how it works. To do that, I'm going to go back up to the top and click the Run Restart button. You might get a hint of it, but you can see that I am in event number 1 here at the top. Your title bar might not be completely visible. If it isn't, you can use the zoom percentage controller here down in the bottom left. I'll zoom out a little bit so I get to see the full view of my stage. Cool. So I have 3 buttons, and of course I just made this once in Master Page A. And if I go ahead, I'm in event number 1. Of course, I can see that here at the very top. If I click event number 2, I immediately navigate to event number 2, and my rollover works. We're still in play mode. Rollover works just fine. If I click event number 3 button, I'm instantly brought over to event number 3. So I've built this navigation control bar once, and I've got use for it in whatever event that I would like. Here I've got it in all 3 events, and I've got basic navigation for, so far, my entire course. Cool. All right, let's, we've got here just a little over a half hour left, so we'll be able to go ahead and create a progress bar, be able to reuse that. I'm going to spend a little time about transitioning between events. You can kind of do some pretty cool effects. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about using gadgets, so reusable objects and assets, so that you can start to skin and create a better looking theme than we already have. So let's start first with creating an additional master page and adding in some background images using a gadget. I'm going to go up to the control panel here at the top here and go back to Edit Reset. It actually throws me into event number 2, the last event that I was looking at. And I'm going to go all the way back then now to event flow view by clicking the icon here in the upper left. So we're now back in edit mode, and we can see that the pencil is highlighted, so we know our application is no longer running, and I'm taking a look at all of my events. Okay, and now that we're back in this view, I'm going to zoom back into 100% so I can read some things a little easier. And I'm going to create a new master page. And this one I want to be to the left of master page A. So to create a new background master to the left of master page A, I go right up to the toolbar here, the title bar for master page A, and I'm going to go ahead and click the plus button. Master page A just became master page B because master page A is to the left or behind master page B. We'll talk a little bit about ordering and layering here in just a few minutes. But now with this new blank master page, I'm going to go ahead and double click and enter in. So now I'm ready to edit. So at the very top of our session today, I alluded a little bit that I had created some assets and shared them via the Gadget Shop. You don't have to go out to the website in order to access this stuff. You may find this a little slow today because we are using GoToMeeting at the same time. But you can access all of the stuff that's available for purchase or shared by others for free in the Gadget Shop by clicking the cloud icon in the editor. And this one you'll find just right above the toolbar. So this little puffy little cloud icon, we want to click that. It's going to spin here for a second. That's all right. And up here in the top, you most likely don't have any gadgets, so it'll take a little longer to spin. I want to go out to the Gadget Shop. So this is stuff that people have created. So I'm going to use this drop down here at the top to go to the Gadget Shop. And the next thing I want to do is sort that by category. So instead of looking at every category, I just want to look at the graphics. And we'll go ahead and sort by date. And just let that think for a little bit. Hope that GoToMeeting isn't eating up too much bandwidth here as we're monkeying along. Cool. Right, so these are all gadgets that are available in the Gadget Shop, and there's lots of different stuff that's available. Here we've got cutout images provided by the eLearning Brothers, and these are for purchase. You can get a set of 10 characters for $3.50, which is pretty cool. If you want to add this to your project or purchase it right now, all you have to do is click and drag to bring that across. I just want to look here for a second. Sort by date. Oh, say OK. Well, with a little bit of monkeying, I was able to get my gadget back to appear, which was the webinar's images. If it didn't work for you, that's OK. But to grab a gadget from the Gadget Shop or from your own collection and to put it inside this application, all you have to do is grab the icon, click and drag, and let go. This is a big collection of assets that I've provided, and you'll be able to use it throughout the course for background images, and I've got a couple peppers for you to use if you'd like. But again, we went up to the Gadget Cloud. We opened that up by clicking the icon here on the left. I navigated to the Gadget Shop. I chose the category of just graphics, so the only thing that I'm really looking at is graphics. And I went and I sorted by date. You can also sort or search by name in the search bar up here. I believe the name of this gadget is Webinar Images, so you can search and see if you can't find it that way. So go ahead and take a few seconds. It might not have just popped right up. Again, the bandwidth with GoToMeeting is making that just a little slow. And if you have any questions on how to find this gadget, you can certainly ask that through the questions pane. And one of our guys here will be quick to answer with text help. So the steps just one more time. I clicked the cloud icon inside the editor. This gave me access to all the gadgets out there in the Gadget Shop. I made sure to toggle between my gadgets to the Gadget Shop. I selected the category of just graphics. And this drop-down menu chose graphics. And I sorted by date. It spun for a little bit, and then I got this, this list of icons. And you can page forward and back by clicking these two little buttons here down at the bottom. And the gadget that we're looking for, of course, has the green beans and not the peppers. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and close the cloud. We've got this gadget that's just peppers here for a second. This is an arena, not anything real special about it. And it's got an arena controller here at the top, and you can see it's one of 5 pages, and I can page forward and back, and you can see, look, I've got, there's the mask for my progress bar, there's a cayenne pepper, there's a habanero, and there's a regular bell pepper, and there's that background images of the green beans. What's cool about bringing a gadget into my project this way is not only did I get this little arena with all the stuff in it, but even if I go ahead and click delete on my keyboard, if you've gotten this gadget in, I invite you to do this. It's not going to delete the images, which I'll show you in a second. But if I go ahead and hit the delete key now, removes it from the stage, but I still have access to it. I can use it wherever I'd like. Plus I have access to all of the assets that were inside that gadget. And to reach the assets inside your project, of course, you go over to the left, and you click on the icon over here that will open up the resource library. That icon looks like a little rectangle and a circle and a triangle. Go ahead and click on that. It opens up a drawer. And here I got a whole bunch of stuff that's now 0 of 0. I've got the gadget itself, that's called webinar images, don't need to worry about that. But I've got now 5 different pings. I've got the green beans, I've got an individual bell pepper, an individual habanero, an individual cayenne pepper, and that mask that we use to create the kind of neat progress bar on the side. So master page A, this one now farthest to the left, the one that's underneath the title bar and navigation bar that we had just created, I'm going to go ahead and put the background of the green beans on here. And to do that, all I have to do is, again, open up the asset library. Once that stuff's in there, click and drag and drop the image right on the stage. If you didn't get a chance to grab that gadget, or you didn't get it in your project and you want to use another image for background, you know, company imagery, logo, all that sort of stuff, of course, you can bring in assets however you'd like right from your desktop. 2 ways to do it. If you open up the project drop-down menu at the top of the editor, you'll find the import asset command. By clicking on that, you get access to all the files here on my computer, and I can navigate through and find, you know, the image that I'd like, and you know, click on it. It's going to import this one as soon as that I hit open. It would be a duplicate of the cayenne pepper. Of course, I got the bell peppers, all that sort of stuff right inside here. A different version of the mask. Go ahead and hit open. It imports that asset right inside your project, and now you have use for it in all of your events and all of your master pages. So it's right there inside your project. Cool. Now I'm going to go back to Event Flow View and just take a look to see what's happened. And we'll close our resource library up just so that I get full view. So master page A, now it's just this image of the green beans. And master page B now, of course, because we put master page A to the left, this has our event navigation strip down at the bottom. And I've got my events all the way across here to the right. And since we created a new master page, it's not automatically applied to all the events inside my course. So to apply that image, of course, all I have to do is go up to the top of the event, and I get that little preview. So here on event number 1, I can see, well, maybe I do want that background image. All I have to do is click. Now I've got 2 black boxes here at the top letting me know that I've applied both master page A and master page B to event number 1. I might skip ahead here a little bit and also apply it to event number 3. Pretty cool. So things that have a common place throughout your application with master pages, edit them once and you get to see that stuff completely cascade through your entire project. With that complete, I want to add just a little bit more content to event number 1. Start to talk to you a little bit about event transitions so that you can create some very cool effects as you move from event number 1 to event number 2 and so on and so forth. And then we'll take just a little bit of time, wrap up creating a progress bar, something that I know a lot of you are interested in doing inside your applications. So I'm going to go back to event number 1. And I'll click the pencil button this time. It's just the same as double-clicking right inside the stage here. Event flow view. And now we're ready to edit. And of course, again, you can see all this stuff is locked up inside those master pages, which really makes it convenient. I don't have to worry about knocking stuff around, moving it, or deleting things that are common to my entire application. So I'll go ahead and I'll click the toolbox icon again, get my toolbox up. And now with this background here, it might be a little difficult to see text, so we'll just imagine that we want to have some sort of box or background here that we can put a little bit of text on. So I'm going to click the rectangle tool again, and here I'm in event number 1. I'm going to click and drag, and we'll make it kind of big, like so. I'll maybe change the color. I kind of want this to be a solid white, and maybe I'll put a rounded corner on it. Again, I'm doing all these changes in the inspector. Convenient way to make changes to objects. So when you have one object selected, like the rectangle, you can go and change its fill color. You can go over here to geometry and say, I want 30 points rounded on my rectangle. Cool. And you could bring in another image. Maybe I'll do that. You could write some text. Just put something on this white box so that you get a chance to see how transition works. It really doesn't matter what you create. You could create a little oval here. We open up the asset library. We'll bring in a bell pepper and give this a title. Okay, give you just a little bit more time to put a few things on event number 1 so that we've got some content and can take a look at transitions, and then we'll move on. Okay, with this step done, I'm going to go back to Event Flow View, clicking again that icon in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and hide my assets, and you can get rid of the toolbox if I like. And just take a quick look at the layout of the land here. So I've got 2 master pages. They're essentially backgrounds, so they're behind my content. Got a little something in event number 1, got a little something in event number 2, and nothing in event number 3 yet. When I click the buttons in run mode, it just jumps between event number 1 and event number 2. So if I play it here, I'll show you how this works. So we're in event number 1. If I click event number 2, you just kind of snap to event number 2, click 3, snap to event number 3, so on and so forth. If I'd like to add just a little bit of transition time between the two, maybe some sort of cool effect, I can do it a couple of places. Let's start with the project message center by going all the way up here to the top. I'm again clicking on that project message center, but this time instead of looking at the ends, I'm going to look at properties. And I'll zoom in just a little bit so that you can see that. Under properties and actions, 3 ribbons: transition type, transition tween, and transition seconds. And these refer to the project as a whole. So, and these transitions refer to moving from event number 1 to event number 2 and event number 2 to event number 3. So we can kind of create a really easy global transition between events. Several choices. We can do a crossfade between the events. We can slide the content of our event from the left to the right, right to the left, top to bottom, bottom to top. So let's just choose one. Let's try sliding from left to right. And of course, I just need to give that a little bit of time. We'll give it 1 second. So in this spot here, why I will click a 1 for 1 second of transition time. And if you're following along, we of course clicked on the project message center at the top. We clicked on properties. Actions shows a transition type, anything that really doesn't matter, and shows 1 second of transition time. And again, this is the transition between event number 1 and event number 2, event number 2 and event number 3, and as we keep adding events, so on and so forth. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Click the run button all the way at the top. Snapped right in. Of course, you can see how this would look exactly for your student or learner or user of your app by clicking on the lock button way here at the top. The run lock button that masks absolutely everything behind it. You get a good preview of what it would look like when it's published. We're in event number 1. I'm going to go ahead and click the event number 2 button. Oops. Let's see what I missed here. Let's go ahead and try the crossfade. It appears that it's snapping super fast. Oh, we've got another way to preview how it will work. I'm going to grab the hand tool here and just take a look up here at the very top. Click on the pointer here, and these guys let you navigate between events. And I'm told here I'll get a nice little preview of the transition by clicking the forward arrow button. Nope, that's just navigating us between events. One last place I might want to look. And that is I can individually set on each one of the events the transition types that it uses. So I'm going to use the hand tool, go here and grab all the way down to the bottom. And the hand tool, of course, lets me move event flow all the way around as I'd like in any which way, shape, or form. I'm going to go ahead and grab the pointer tool once more. Now that I've got these message centers appeared, and you can choose to use no fade as you move in between events. You can choose crossfade, left to right, right to left, and this is going to override the project settings that you have here at the top. And my guess is I'm just not seeing it because we didn't get it published and completed. Oh. I see what I've done wrong. Here, there's a third place to set event transitions, which is really pretty handy. So we have global transitions, we have event-to-event transitions, and we have the go-to-event ribbon here at the very top. And that lets you set a transition type as well. So let's look here. I'm sorry to send you on a roundabout hunt, but here at the top, under ins and do, for each one of these ribbons where we're going from event number 3, 2, and 1, they have child ribbons. and I need to click and open that up and give that a transition time. So here it was snapping. This was overriding the choice that I had made in the project message center. So under transition seconds, I'm going to go ahead and hit 1, and then I'm going to choose a transition type. Here I have much more flexibility in the transition types I'm going to use. I'm just going to set a 1-second crossfade for each one of those nav buttons. 1 second and crossfade. 1 second and crossfade. Gotcha. So these guys were overriding the general default settings for my project. Which is pretty cool. So again, to find those, go ahead and click on the Project Message Center. It doesn't matter if you're in Event View or Event Flow View mode, you can go ahead and grab this. Under Ins and Do, for each one of these setter ribbons, the Go To Event setter ribbons, where it sets it to event number 3, 2, and 1, go ahead and change the transition type to one of them from the list. Doesn't matter which. Crossfade, 1 second transition, and we'll do that all the way across. Okay, let's see if I got it right this time. We'll go ahead and hit Run. Event number 2, aha, event number 3, bingo. So now I've got transitions for each one of my events. And if I'd like, down here at the bottom inside Message Centers for the master pages, you can choose whether or not things transition with or without each one of the events. So I invite you to play around and see how each one of those settings works. And there certainly are lots of options for transitioning things like just the content on each one of your events without transitioning the master pages, and having different transitions for master pages versus events. Cool. The last thing that I've got promised for our schedule for today, and that is to create a progress bar, one that we'd like to be able to use throughout our project. So we'll start by making yet another master page. And I'm going to grab my slider and we'll move that all the way over to the left so that I'm in my master page area. And this one I want to be to the right of all of my master pages. So I'll go to master page B, click on the plus button here to the right. Now I get master page C, and this is where I'm going to make my progress bar. So I'm going to go ahead and double click master page C, get it into edit mode, and grab my toolbox one more time. So there's lots of ways that this can be done pretty simply with a slider and a rectangle. So maybe across the top this time, or across the side, I suppose. This gives us an opportunity to use that pretty cool little mask that I had created. Okay, so this is going to be our progress bar, and I'm going to create a rectangle, put it right over here, I suppose. And what I want to have this do is represent, as it grows from bottom to top, a show of completion. So when it's kind of down here, we're at the very beginning, and here we're 100% complete. And I'm going to show you a handy trick for using a slider to kind of convert a little bit of math without having to do any math. So I'm going to create a slider over here on the left off the stage. So this isn't something that my students or learners are going to be able to see. And do it like so. And I'm going to grab the message center here for the rectangle, open up Properties and Geometry, and I want to connect the height. So how far this has grown. Again, it's going to grow from, we want it to grow from the bottom all the way up to the top. I want this to be 100%, and I want this all the way down at the bottom to be 0. So we get a chance to have that progress all the way from 0 to 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach now the height of my rectangle all the way over to my slider and to values and slider value, and let go. You'll see a disparity here between size, height, and slider value, and we're going to fix that here real quick. So go ahead and select now the slider. Once you've made this connection, again, we connected size, height from the rectangle to slider value on the slider. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the end value for the slider the same as size, height. So I'll just go here and in end value, go ahead and type 500 and click off. And you notice our rectangle immediately jumps down now to a perfect 100 in height. When I move the slider knob, now you notice, well, the rectangle is growing from the center, which is just fine. We'll fix that in a second. It's really easy to do. But now you can see a really cool thing inside the message center for the slider, and that is slider percent. Even though the end value is 500, so the total value is 500, it's going from 0 to 500, as I move this guy up and down, the slider is automatically converting 0 to 500 to 0 to 100 in percentages. So we can use this now to control our progress bar throughout the course. One last thing that I want to change, and that is the anchor point of my rectangle. Let's kind of move these message centers off to the side here for a second. So the anchor point, of course, refers to where my rectangle is on the screen. And you can see it. It's this little gray set of 4 little dots right here in the center. And its position is controlled under the Properties tab of Geometry, this first one at the top called Anchor Point. And if I click, I get a drop-down menu with a whole bunch of different choices, and this is going to reassign the position of the anchor point for the rectangle. And a bunch of choices, top left, which of course would be up here, bottom center, right down in the bottom here, and that's exactly what we'd like. So I'll go ahead and I'll choose bottom center. And you should notice that your little gray set of dots has jumped all the way down to the bottom. I'll give you a second to do that. If you have any questions, please ask them through the questions pane on GoToMeeting. I'd be happy to provide you with any assistance that you need. And then I'll move on now to the final steps. Sure. I'll do it one more time. So we've connected the height of the rectangle to the value of the slider. We've made the end value of the slider 500. This allows us now to control moving the slider up and down all the way from 0 to 500 pixels tall. And in order to make sure that the rectangle grows bottom up, I've changed the location of the anchor point of the rectangle. And I did that by going to the message center of the rectangle under Properties to Geometry, and I moved that position by clicking the drop-down menu, Open, and I went all the way down here and I changed the anchor point position from center to bottom center, which moves it all the way down here, which means now that when the slider is moved up and down, the rectangle grows bottom up. So what we really want to have happen now is when things happen inside events, we want to be able to control the height of our progress bar. So just like we wired out to the edge of our master page, we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to do it with the percentage of my slider. Again, as you move this guy up and down, you notice that the slider percentage changes from 0 all the way up here to 100. But we want to have correct answers or something about paging through, any sort of option inside an event to be able to control the current value of my progress bar. So just for now, as we're authoring, I'm going to leave my progress bar so that it's kind of down here towards the bottom, not any percentages at all. And from the sliders message center, I'm going to click and drag to create a blue wire from slider percent. Click and drag, grab that blue wire, and I'm going to connect it to the edge of my stage here on the master page. And all I have to do is get that wire right over. You can see the little highlight as you move up and down, and let go. So now it's connected all the way here up at the top. And the really neat thing here is down here at the bottom inside the message center for master page C, I now have a custom ribbon. That custom ribbon is the percentage of my progress bar. Of course, I can rename this ribbon. It just says slider percent. I'll just call this progress bar. Now I have a way for actions inside any event to be able to talk to the current percentage of my progress bar through the slider. So I'll set that up really quick with one button, maybe in my second event. So we'll go back out to Event Flow View. Go over here to my second event. And maybe what I want to say is when the user has actually clicked on my oval here, we want to change the progress of my progress bar. So you'll have to imagine that students answered a question and we've given them a little credit for that. So clicking on the oval here in event number 2, I'm going to click and drag to create a wire right off that oval, and just like we did with the blue wire, I'm going to wire it to the edge. Yep, it's an out. Under point and click, we're looking for the ribbon of click. So this is when the user has clicked on the oval. Click and drag to create a wire. We're going to bring that right over to the edge, to one of these ports here on the side, and let go. You may have noticed that inside the Events Message Center, that also created a custom ribbon of oval click. I'll go back to Event Flow View, and now I'm going to connect the two together. So we'll go back to Event Flow View, and this is where being able to see two events at the same time is really handy. So at the bottom of the slider here with Event 2 still showing, I'm going to click and drag to get Master Page C visible and to get Event number 2 visible at the same time. And from now the message centers on the events, the Message Center, Event number 2, and Master Page C, I'm going to connect, clicking on that oval, to changing the value of my progress bar. So I've clicked and dragged from the Message Center right here on the edge. We're bringing that all the way over to the left, all the way down to progress bar. Under Properties, I'm just going to let go. And this creates a Set Property ribbon. And what it really says is, what value do you now want to set the progress bar to? Tons of different ways that I could do this, and we'll cover those in future events. But just for today, under Set Property, here on Master Page C, where now it's oval clicked, I'm going to set the value of that slider bar, the progress bar. I'm going to go ahead and say, oh, we'll get 50% credit for just clicking on the oval. And if I'd like to animate that, so to have the progress bar grow, I'm just going to add, I don't know, 1 second of transition time. So that's going to move it from its current position up to 50%. It's going to take 1 second to do that. So click on the oval, wire that to change the percentage of the slider, and we're going to have this progress bar grow. You may have noticed that I have yet to apply Master Page C to any of my events. I need to do that. So up here at the top, go ahead and click to apply that progress bar. See, it just kind of overrides here in the corner. I can do that on all the events if I'd like. Okay, let's go ahead and run it and see how this works. I hit run, thrown into event number 1. Nothing really for us to do here yet. Click on event number 2. I have the rollover. To see that this is supposed to be a banana pepper sometime in the future when we do a little bit of object replacement. But if the student goes ahead and clicks anywhere on the screen, you can see that my progress bar grows all the way up here to the top. Pretty cool. So I'm just going to recap, pull up that original sample that I showed you. Again, there's a whole bunch of stuff in this one. I've shared it in the shops. All you have to do is go to the shops, click on the Hot Peppers app here on the side, and you'll see a bunch of different examples. Of course, how I used several different master pages, all that sort of stuff. And of course, when I run this application, you see I've got some additional enhancements that you can spend a little time to figure out on your own. But here we can navigate between all 4 events, excuse me. And in this one here, if I correctly identify peppers, my progress bar grows just a little bit. Habaneros are hot. These are not. The other place that I've got my progress bar hooked up is event number 4. And we got to get these guys in the appropriate heat range. Somewhere in there. Somewhere up here. Of course, not hot at all. And boom. Now I've hit 100%. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And it was a kind of a long haul. We had to look around for a few things, but I hope you got an opportunity to see all the features you were hoping to see inside ZebraZapps Professional. Of course, we'll be having many follow-up webinars, so you get a chance to see more interaction types, more uses of all these. But I'll stay around here for 5 minutes or so and answer any questions that I can. You're certainly welcome to email me, and I'll put my email address inside the chat window. If you'd like to have a sample of this project, the whole thing from beginning to end, so that you can edit and play around and see how I created these sliders and the drag and drops and all that sort of stuff, I can now, through the cloud, transfer the project to you. So I'll go ahead and in the chat window here, I'll go ahead and I'll add my email address. Of course, you got it with the invite to the webinar. And if you'd like to have a copy of this project, why go ahead and send an email off to me afterwards, and I'll be happy to supply it to you. Well, for those of you who are going to drop off, thanks very much for attending today, and I'll stick around and, again, answer questions for a few minutes. Well, thanks so much. I certainly do appreciate all the kind comments. I hope each and every one of you had a chance to get some questions answered here today and take a look at our new features. And again, I've shared my email address through the chat window here on GoToMeeting, so feel free to reach out to me afterwards. Again, if you'd like a copy of this project or have any questions that you'd like answered offline. Oh, I've got a good question here. How do I delete a project? Really simply, you do that back out on the website portion of ZebraZapps. If you look under My Stuff and My Projects and click the View All button, you'll see the 555 projects that I've got going. Not all of them are gems. But if I'd like to delete anything that I've done here today, all you have to do is here, I'll pick one that's I'm sure not good. We'll go ahead and delete this one. It brings up a little dialog window that says, are you sure you want to delete the project name? The project name is there. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And poof, the project is gone. And of course, if you tried using ZebraZapps Pro today, or if you didn't because you were a little nervous about going ahead and starting an account, I would like to let you know that we do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you start your account today and start creating things inside Pro, you get to day 29 and decide that Zebra is not for you for any reason, why we're happy to offer a refund. Well, I don't see really any more questions here, so I'm going to sign off for today, but of course happy to answer any questions that you have offline. Thanks again so much for coming, and good luck.